welcome back to SiNaCa Studios School of Glass. We have an exciting new kit for you, the votive tea light candle. This is a wonderful item that we are now offering, and it is a kiln form item. We are going to walk you through the steps of all the materials in your kit, how to assemble all the glass in your kit, and how to create this beautiful, unique, one-of-a-kind tea light candle. So once you've gone online through our website and ordered your votive kit, there are a couple of things I want to talk about before we start to remove the material from the kit. The first thing is you'll notice on the top of your box you have a QR code. This QR code will allow you to access the video, which we're doing right now, to give you step-by-step instructions on how to create this beautiful piece of glass. So we're going to go ahead and open the kit. There are two tabs on either side of this kit. You grab the bottom, you grab the top, and you pull gently, and it should pop right up. Now, when you open the kit, you'll notice that there is a card on the top. You pick that card up. On the back, we'll have all of your information for our purposes, and of course, your name on the front. This QR code is different than the one on the top. This one is very important because what we'll need you to do is once you've finalized your artwork, we will need you to photograph it and upload it to this site. And basically the idea is that when the kit travels and comes back to us, it allows us to make sure that none of the glass has shifted so that where you put it is exactly where it's going to be when we go through the firing process. So you're going to need to hold on to this. I'm going to put it aside. When you first open your kit, what you will see is a piece of clear glass. And you'll notice that on the foam, there are two little areas that have a gap. That is a good place for you to slide your hand to be able to get up underneath the glass, lift up and remove it. This is plate glass and the edges are sharp. So whenever you're touching this, just be mindful that it is potentially harmful. But if you grab it on the edges tight like this, then you can move it around as needed. Another thing to note is that there is a blue circle in the center. This is an area where we're going to not apply any color. So we want you to go ahead and leave this as it's taped on throughout the entire process, and when we bring it, or when you bring it back to SiNaCa Studios, we will remove it before we fire it. Once we take our flat glass out, we're going to go ahead and set that down. We're going to lift up the foam. We can put that to the side. And in the bottom, you'll notice that you have a bunch of different bags with different pieces of glass in them. You can go ahead and start to remove those pieces of glass. You have pebbles that create circles of color. Frit that create more organic shapes of round color. Mosaic squares that will create squares of color. And last, stringers that will create straight lines of color. Also, you will notice in the bottom of your kit, you have a container of glue. Pull that out. At this point, you can put the foam back in, the QR code back in, close up the box, and we can start to talk about prepping the workspace. So when we prepare our workspace, one thing to keep in mind is that you are working with glass, and sometimes the glass can get stuck. And if you move this plate around and there's a piece of glass underneath it, you could potentially scratch a surface, or some of these other things have tiny little shards. So it's a good idea to prep your workspace by either working on a piece of craft paper or something that covers the surface you're working on. Another added tool that might be helpful are a pair of tweezers. This will allow you to grab little bits and place them and move them around if they are too small for your fingers. And also some little bowls or cups will be helpful so that you're not having to dig into the bag. For example, your frit is pretty small and can be pretty crazy moving around on the table. So it allows you a place to where then you can use your tool and kind of pick through and contain all these little pieces of glass so that they don't get all over your house. And so a few of these little bowls, you can pour all of the glass in, keep the bags. And the stringers as well. The stringers might be a little bit different. So you can go ahead and try to pull them out at an angle, and then they can slide in. Now that you've prepared your workspace, we're ready to start assembling. Now that we've taken all of our materials and placed them in the appropriate little dishes, we're going to go through and talk about each one. They're a little tricky when it comes to placing them on your canvas. So what we're going to do is start with the frit. We're also going to talk about the additional tool, the tweezers. But basically when you take the frit is not very sharp on either side. And on some of the bigger pieces, there is a flat side. And so when you place it, you just want to make sure that you kind of grab the glass in not a very hard way. And then you can place it on your clear background. You can grab and create design and pattern. You'll also be able, on some of these pieces that are very small, to use the tweezers to be able to grab and to really place into a position, especially if you're creating a little bit more of a specific pattern. So that's the frit with the Mosaic Squares. You want to be mindful, these are pieces of sheet glass and they are sharp along the edge. So when you pick them up, be careful not to run your finger along the edge. Try not to grab them at the corners too tightly because they are and can be sharp. When you place them, make sure you place them on the flat side on your piece of clear sheet glass, and then you can use them to create a pattern and shape. Remember also that they go flat. We don't want anything standing up on edge like that. It won't fire very well. So you can use those to create nice, simple square shapes of colors. The next material we're going to pick up are the stringers. These come in all different lengths, but you can change the length size depending on what you need. You place your hands on either side, and then you gently bring your wrists together and use your nails. You can create a break. Be mindful that you are breaking glass, so that can be potentially sharp. So just go nice and slow and just give it a little pop, and it'll break into two pieces. If you want specific shape, specific length, then you can use your fingers to kind of measure out, and then bring your two nails right next to each other, give it a little twist and pull, and it will break the exact length that you need it to be. With the pebbles come all different shapes and sizes. They will give you a pretty round dot of color. But something I want to show you is that the pebbles have a flat side and then a domed side. When you are using them to assemble to create your pattern, make sure that they go on the flat side. A good way to tell if you have done this correctly is if it's on the flat side, it doesn't wiggle. And so if you put it on the dome side, it's going to move around on you. So if you're having a hard time getting these things to stay in place, it's probably because it's upside down. Flip it over, and then you can go ahead and continue to create your pattern and move them around as you see fit. Now that you've created a beautiful votive pattern, for your votive candle, now we can talk about using the adhesive and also talk about this blue circle. So we'll start with the adhesive first. Once you've put down your sheet glass, your pebbles, your stringers, or your frit, you have a little bit of a working time with the adhesive to be able to kind of move things around. Basically, the adhesive has a twist lid. So you push down and you can twist to remove it. And there's a tiny little steel needle that is coming out. It is not sharp, but it allows you to drip the adhesive very gently so that you're not over gluing. And basically, we only want enough adhesive to be able to allow the glass to stay in place in transit back to our studio. You don't want to use too much glue. So I'm going to show you how to use the glue on all of the different materials that we have. For starters, we'll start with the Mosaic Squares. And so the idea is that you can put the square in its place. You can take the glue bottle, and if you just squeeze and drop one little drop around the edge, the glue will go down the edge of the piece of sheet glass and essentially sneak underneath it. That allows for it to have a little bit of tackiness, so you have a little bit of time to be able to shape it where you need to, but it'll also ensure that that one piece stays to this piece of sheet glass. You don't want to squeeze as hard as you can initially right on the top of the sheet glass. Just come to one of the corners, give it one or two little drops until you see it drip down the side and underneath the edge. Same thing for the pebbles. You want to come to the edge, drip a little glass or a little glass tack, a little glue down the edge, and then it will slide up underneath the pebble flat side. If you have the pebble upside down, this will be more challenging and more difficult. And so if you're struggling with the pebbles, just make sure that it is on the correct side. The stringers sometimes have a tendency to move when you drop a little dollop of glass because of the surface tension. And so I'm going to drop one on the edge of the stringer. That one didn't move, but if it does, again, you have some working time to where you can move the stringer and get it exactly where you want it to be. It's super important in this process for this project that we do not remove the blue circle and that we leave that on there. And when you bring it back to the studio, we will remove it. But that allows for the glass to slump in a very specific way so that it looks like the votive candle holder. Once you've glued all your pieces, give it about 5 or 10 minutes to sit, and then you will be ready to go to rebox. So now that we have glued all of our pieces down and we've given it a few minutes to set, we can go ahead and start to put all the glass back in its bags and talk about how we put our beautiful artwork back into its box to be able to travel back to SiNaCa. And so we went ahead and put all the glass in its appropriate bags. We're going to do the pebbles. Okay, so at this point, the glass is adhered lightly onto the clear glass. Depending on how long you wait, it's going to be hard or still have some motion in it. The nice thing about the kit is that if anything moves while we're picking it up and putting it back in the box, you should have a little bit more time, wiggle room to be able to come back and really make sure everything is where it is. So we're going to go ahead and get the kit back. We're going to open it. We're going to place all the remaining glass and the glue back into the kit by rolling these bags up. Laying them down. The glass mosaics can go in the center, lay down, stringers on the side, and then the adhesive, make sure that adhesive lid is all nice and tight, and we can put it back down in. The styrofoam insert can then go back into the kit. Now, if you notice, there's something really interesting with the styrofoam insert. There are two areas that do not have walls on them. This is a good place for you to put your hands so that you can set your artwork back into the box without messing anything up. When you pick up your artwork, be mindful that the edge is very sharp. There's a couple different ways you can do this. If you lift with your nails or your fingers by applying pressure inward, you can allow the glass to pick up slightly, and then you can slide your hands and your thumb and your fingers underneath. The other way that you can do this is you can slide it to the edge and then create a gap underneath that way as well. But the idea is that you just want to gently pick your artwork up, come over to the kit, come over to that side that has the gap, and then set your artwork back down and then remove it. Again, you should have a little bit of time, depending on how long you wait, to box everything up, to move things around if you need to, and get them exactly where you want them to be. Okay? Make sure that you put your card back in to the box. Close the lid and press down pretty firmly until you hear those snaps. Now your box is ready to come back to SiNaCa and get finalized. Thank you guys so much for playing with us. The votive examples are here just to kind of give you an idea of the finalized piece. A couple things for a reminder with your kit. Make sure that the glue has completely set before you bring it back up to us here at the studio. And another thing, to make sure that you photograph your final piece and upload it to the QR code on the card. That way, if anything does move in transit, we can make sure to adjust it for you accordingly. Keep an eye out. We're going to be doing a lot of new kits and a lot of really new exciting videos, and we hope you come back and play with us soon. Thank you.